Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah, excited for this one.
I am too. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of side hustles.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, and it's something that so many people are talking about these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone wants to have that side hustle, that extra income stream.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking about, not only how to find the perfect idea for a side hustle, but also how to launch it and how to actually make it successful,
Sweet.
all within 27 days.
27 days, that's a pretty tight timeline.
It is.
Ambitious.
It is. But that is the promise that Chris Guillebeau lays out in his book, Side Hustle, From Idea to Income in 27 Days.
Oh, I've heard of that book.
Yeah, it's really great. I think one of the things that's so appealing about the idea of a side hustle is that it really does hold that potential of turning your passion into profit.
Yeah.
It's like you get to do what you love and you get to make money from it.
Totally.
But also having more freedom and financial security.
Yeah, no, that's definitely appealing. It's like the dream, right? To
Exactly.
be able to have control over your time and your income.
Yeah, and to sort of pave your own way. And so we're going to unpack exactly how to do that, taking all of the insights and advice from Chris Guillebeau's book and kind of laying it out for you guys today.
Awesome. Sounds good.
So one thing that really struck me about Chris's approach is that he really emphasizes that a side hustle is not just about making extra cash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's about so much more than that.
Interesting.
It's about creativity. It's about freedom. It's about feeling empowered.
So it's like more of a holistic approach.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just about, grinding away to make a few extra bucks. It's
Right.
about really like creating something that you're passionate about,
Yeah.
that you're excited to work on.
That you're proud of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, how do we find that perfect side hustle idea?
Yeah, that's $1 million question.
Right. I mean, it could be really overwhelming, especially when you see so many people out there doing so many different things.
Yeah, it's like, where do you even begin?
Right. And Chris, he guides us through the process.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful.
Okay, cool.
And he starts by saying, identify your passions.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Like, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
What lights you up? But he says that's only half of the equation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's the other half?
The other half is finding gaps in the market.
Gaps in the market. What does that mean exactly?
So it means identifying needs that aren't being met
Okay,
or problems that people are having that aren't being solved.
gotcha.
And so it's about finding that sweet spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where what you love intersects with what people actually need and are willing to pay for.
Yeah, so it's not just about what you're passionate about, but also what's marketable, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So there's got to be demand for it.
Yeah, there's no point in creating something amazing if nobody's actually going to buy it.
Right, for sure.
So he has this great example of a dog walker.
Wow.
Who was walking dogs, obviously.
Right.
But he noticed that a lot of his clients were also like asking him about like taking pictures of their dogs.
Oh, cute.
Right. They were just using their phones and the pictures weren't always that great.
Yeah, I get that.
And so he realized that there was a demand for like pet photography services.
Okay.
And so he started offering that as a side hustle.
So he combined his passion for dogs with this market need.
Exactly.
That's a really smart idea.
Yeah. And he was already like spending time with the dogs anyway.
Yeah.
So it was like a natural extension of what he was already doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, he gives a lot of different examples like that in the book.
Okay.
And he also provides some really helpful tools for kind of getting those creative juices flowing.
Oh, cool. Like
Yeah.
what?
So things like brainstorming exercises, idea matrices.
Idea matrices.
Yeah, it's basically like a way to kind of like map out different ideas and see how they connect to different needs.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool visual tool.
I like that.
But once you have that idea, Chris doesn't let you linger in the planning phase for too long.
Oh, really? Why not?
He's all about action, right?
Okay.
He's like, don't get bogged down in planning forever.
Said.
Just get out there and start doing.
Yeah.
So he lays out this 27-day roadmap,
Okay.
which, as we mentioned, it's a pretty quick timeline.
Yeah, it is.
But it's all about taking action.
Okay, so how does it actually work?
So it's broken down into 4 weeks,
Okay.
each with specific goals and actions.
All right, so walk me through it.
All right, so week 1 is all about validating your idea.
Validating your idea.
Yeah, this is where you figure out if there's actually a demand for what you're thinking of offering.
So it's not just about asking your friends and family if they like it.
No, 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 no. It's going beyond that.
Okay.
It's actually like doing some market research.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris provides, different strategies for how to do that.
Like what?
Like sending out quick surveys,
Yep.
conducting short interviews,
Right.
maybe even setting up a landing page to gauge interest.
Gotcha.
It's really about, making sure that there's a real need for your product or service.
Yeah, so you're not wasting your time building something that nobody wants.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to get, months down the line and then realize that, like, oops, nobody actually needs this.
Right.
Then week 2 is all about crafting your pitch and creating a basic version of your product or service.
Oh, okay. So this is where you actually start building something.
Yeah. This is where you start bringing your idea to life.
Okay.
But Chris emphasizes that it doesn't have to be perfect at this stage.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's all about creating what he calls a minimum viable product.
A minimum viable product.
Yeah, basically like the most basic version of your product that you can like start testing and getting feedback on.
So it's more important to get something out there quickly rather than spending months trying to make it perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about like getting feedback early on so that you can iterate and improve based on what people actually want.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then week 3 is all about marketing and landing those first crucial customers.
Marketing, all right.
Yeah, so this is where you start getting the word out about your side hustle.
Okay.
And Chris recommends starting with like low cost, high impact methods.
Low cost, like what?
So things like social media,
Okay.
email marketing,
All right.
leveraging your existing network.
Mm-hmm.
So, reaching out to your friends, family, colleagues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then week 4 is all about refining based on the feedback that you've received
Okay.
and planning for growth.
So it's like taking everything you've learned in the first 3 weeks and using it to improve your side hustle.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about like taking a step back,
Mm-hmm.
analyzing what's working, what's not working,
Okay.
and then making adjustments based on that feedback.
So it's like a constant process of improvement.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really the key to like making a side hustle successful, right?
Yeah, you got to be willing to adapt and evolve.
Exactly. Yeah.
So all of this sounds great, but what about actually making money from your side hustle?
Yeah. That's the important part, right?
Right.
Like it's all well and good to have a great idea,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're not actually making money from it, then it's not really a sustainable side hustle.
Yeah, it's got to be profitable.
Exactly.
So how do we do that?
So Chris, he dedicates a significant portion of the book to this idea of crafting a compelling offer.
A compelling offer.
Yeah, so this is about clearly articulating the problem that you're solving for your customer and the specific benefits that they'll receive.
So it's about like communicating the value that you're providing.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so how do we do that?
So it starts with understanding your target market, right? Like who are you trying to reach?
Okay,
What are their needs? What are their pain points?
gotcha.
And then it's about positioning your product or service as the solution to those problems.
Okay, so it's like painting a picture of how your side hustle can make their lives better.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so once we have a compelling offer, what about pricing?
Yeah, that's a big one, right?
Yeah, it's like, how do we find that sweet spot?
Exactly, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to undervalue your work,
Mm-hmm.
but you also want to make it accessible to people.
Right, you want people to be able to afford it.
Exactly.
So what does Chris say about that?
So he provides a lot of different frameworks for thinking about pricing.
Okay.
And he really emphasizes the importance of like understanding your costs, right? Like what are your expenses?
Okay.
How much time are you investing?
Gotcha.
And then also understanding the value that you're providing.
Right, because you don't want to price yourself too low and end up losing money.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to make sure that
No.
you're actually making a profit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So he gives like different pricing models to consider,
Okay.
like hourly rates, project-based pricing, value-based pricing.
So there are different options depending on the type of side hustle.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about finding the perfect side hustle idea, launching it, marketing it, and making money from it. But what about the challenges?
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. Starting a side hustle is not always easy.
Right, there are going to be hurdles.
Exactly. And Chris, he acknowledges that.
Okay, good.
He talks about some of the common hurdles that people face.
Like what?
So things like time management,
Yeah, that's a big one.
right? Like, we all have busy lives.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find the time to actually work on your side hustle? Self-doubt.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one, too.
Right, like imposter syndrome,
Oh.
feeling like you're not good enough.
Mm.
And then also limited resources.
Yeah, especially when you're first starting out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you might not have a lot of money to invest.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have a big team to help you.
Right.
So, you know, how do you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
So, Chris, he offers a wealth of practical advice.
Okay, great.
So starting with time management, he talks about the importance of like setting realistic goals.
Okay.
Right. Like, don't try to do too much too soon. Prioritizing tasks.
Right.
Learning to say no.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is, but it's important. Right.
Yeah, you can't do everything.
Exactly.
So what about self-doubt? How do we overcome that?
So Chris, he talks about the importance of like building a support network.
A support network.
Right. So surrounding yourself with people who believe in you,
Okay.
who encourage you, who can provide feedback and accountability.
Gotcha.
And then also like recognizing your accomplishments.
Celebrating the wins.
Exactly. Yeah, like taking the time to acknowledge how far you've come.
Yeah, I think that's so important. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and forget to appreciate how much progress you've made.
Totally. Yeah. And then, you know, with limited resources, Chris talks about the importance of getting creative.
Creative, like how?
So like, you know, finding ways to leverage free or low-cost resources, bartering with other businesses.
Okay.
And then also like just being resourceful.
Right, like thinking outside the box.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Chris's approach is very much about empowering people to take control of their own success.
Absolutely, yeah. He really emphasizes that. Like, you know, you don't need a lot of money or a big team to start a successful side hustle. It's really about having a great idea, being willing to put in the work, and being resourceful.
Yeah, and it's about taking action.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, we've talked a lot about the practical side of starting a side hustle. But I think it's important to also talk about the bigger picture.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, what's the point of all of this?
Right.
What are we actually trying to achieve?
Yeah, so it's not just about making a few extra bucks.
Right.
It's about potentially achieving financial independence.
Okay.
Maybe launching a full-time business. Or simply designing a life with more freedom and control.
Yeah, like being your own boss.
Exactly, yeah.
Setting your own hours. Working on projects that you're passionate about.
Exactly, and I think, you know, a side hustle can be that first step. It can be that, like, that gateway to creating that life that you really want.
Yeah, it's like a way to test the waters.
Exactly.
To see if you actually enjoy being an entrepreneur. To see if your idea has legs.
Yeah, and to start building that momentum. Right? So that, you know, maybe one day that side hustle can become your main hustle.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Exactly.
All right, well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But the key takeaway here is action. Right?
Yeah. Don't just listen to this and then do nothing.
Exactly, yeah. Like, take what you've learned today and actually apply it. Don't let those 27 days pass you by.
Absolutely. And even if you're just starting to think about a side hustle, this conversation has hopefully given you a solid foundation to build upon.
Absolutely.
So here's a thought to leave you with.
Okay.
If you could design a life with more freedom and financial control, what kind of side hustle would be your perfect fit?
Ooh, that's a great question. All right, well, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.